Oh, blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. It is very, very difficult to fix a system that has been indoctrinated into everybody that's participating in that system. So when you have 30 children in a classroom and they are being asked to do a certain thing, you cannot really give them their freedom. The system is not set up to give them their freedom. You cannot have 30 children and one teacher or maybe one teacher's assistant and keep control or keep a manageable energy going on unless you tell them to sit in their chairs and shut up and be quiet. So really, it's within that structure, you have limitations. But what you can do is, let's say you have a talkative student, you can ask them to come up to the front of the class and you can, in a very kind and loving way, say, look, I know that you have a lot to say. I know that every day you come in here and we'll call her Chatty Cathy. Why don't you ask that student what they would like to say? Why don't you ask that student what they would like to say? And they may, in fact, come to a place of realizing that they don't have much to say, or they do have something to say. If you have children who are aggressive and they're coming into that system, it's very, very difficult for you to manage them because you are not able to assert controls on those children that they need. So really, you're kind of swimming upstream from the beginning because you're in a classroom situation where there's lots of kids and there's not enough time and space for them to be free. So really, you are going to have very, very limited things. But what you can do, for example, is if you have a child that's struggling, you can call them aside at the end of the class and you can say, look, I can see that you're struggling. Is there something that I can do to help you? Is there something going on at home that's causing you trouble? What I want you to know, like as if you're talking to that student, is what I want you to know is the fact that you're failing math does not mean that you're a bad kid. It does not mean that at all. Some people are good at math and some people are not good at math. Is there any way that we could get you to just pass the math class? Because not everybody's a mathematician, not everybody's going to conform. Same with creative writing. You've got somebody who writes one sentence when they need to write a short story. Pull them aside and say, look, I know that you aren't doing very well in this class, and that's okay. Not everybody's good at this, but is there something we can do to get you to pass this class? Is there some way that I can help you, or is there some way that you could apply yourself a little bit more just to get through this class? Because sometimes that's all you have to do. And you will find your place. You will find the subject you love. If you can keep going, you will find that niche in the world that suits you. But it's very, very difficult. So of course, this is why alternative schools are brought forth, because alternative schools are, the students are fewer in number. They are given more flexibility. They're given more outside exercise, all of these things, because they know that children do not thrive in classrooms of 30 being told to shut up and sit down. So what you're going through right now, through this COVID restrictions and school shutdowns and these kinds of things, you are actually going through a retooling of the system. There are many, many parents who have chosen to homeschool their children. And of course, you won't necessarily see them, but there are teachers who have been fired for refusing to get vaccinated, who are beginning to tutor students at home. So there is a new system that is in fact beginning to develop. Just as there is a new system of health that's beginning to develop, there's a new system of exercise that's beginning to develop. If you can't go to the gym, some people are getting together in their basements and working out together, but you never see it. So this is really what we would like to throw out for you in terms of hope, is that the system is going to crumble because there is the energies of these times does not support this kind of oppression and control. Let's put it bluntly. Having 13-year-olds in a class together is not good socialization. It is not good socialization. It is not good to force kids to learn things they don't want to learn. So if you are involved in the system now, you are going to be probably restricted to doing small things like helping a child come to terms with the fact that they're not very good at a subject, but you telling them this does not mean that you're a failure. This does not mean that you're a bad person. What it means is you haven't quite found your way yet. What it means is that not everybody's meant to be good at everything. And even you saying that to some of these children will help them. Now, in terms of managing the system in general, we would say the system is beginning to collapse. And that's what you're witnessing in terms of disrespect, in teachers being afraid of children, these kinds of things. The dysfunction within your society is becoming so noticeable that the old way of doing things is simply not going to work. So if you're a teacher in that system, what we would say to you is as long as you choose to stay in that profession, do the most loving things that you can do within the system that you're functioning in. But it is not going to continue to function. The banking system is not going to continue to function. Many systems are not going to continue to function because there are forces at play that are faster and higher and better. And to allow those systems that are faster and higher and better to come into being, there has to be a space created. So you may find, for example, that in 5 years' time, you are leading a homeschooling group and that you're taking kids out into the woods, that you're taking them to the beach, that you're teaching them all different kinds of things. And in fact, if you find your work becoming more and more distasteful, that's what we would suggest you begin to envision in your mind. Get online, see what other teachers who are disillusioned with the system are doing, talk to them, have a Zoom call, ask them what they're thinking, what are they doing? Are there homeschooling groups that need tutors? Put an ad out in the paper. These are all things that you can do rather than saying, we can't control these kids anymore. No, you can't. They are coming in here to disrupt the system. A lot of children are coming in to not conform. They're coming in to break the system. They are not bad. They are, in fact, on their spiritual purpose. So this is the other thing to keep in mind, is that when this frequency that some of these younger beings are holding hits the old frequency of the traditional classroom, it's not a good match. And there's nothing you can do to force it. If a child is truly in alignment with their guidance system and they hate math and you're asking them to do math, they will get up and walk out of the class. You can label them dysfunctional or delinquent if you want to, but in fact, many of them are in fact listening to their spiritual guidance. So it's really your decision to decide how you want to handle a system that is collapsing from the inside out. Are you going to stay through the collapse and have the difficulties of that? Or are you going to read the writing on the wall and say, okay, this is not going well. I'm going to start looking at different things. Perhaps you want to retrain. Perhaps you want to stop being a teacher. Perhaps you want to become something else. Or perhaps you'd like to be a teacher and you'd like to work in a more alternative, more flexible, more open way. Begin to search out those beings that are already doing it. There are already people doing it. And instead of waiting until the Titanic is sinking, get yourself on a lifeboat sooner than later. I just saw a big image of the Titanic going down.